Just so you know, this show is about scary stuff. So don't say I didn't warn you guys. And remember, don't be scared.
Episode 118, Developments plus the murder of Diamond Alvarez. War Baby here with another episode of Murderous Minors. Hey lovelies, it's time to go over what's been recently reported in some of the cases we've talked about on the show. In other words, there've been developments. We also have a new case out of Southwest Houston, Texas, the murder of 15-year-old Diamond Alvarez. We'll start with the ongoing case out of North Texas, where 14-year-old Abel alias Acosta is still on the run, evading authorities for 7 weeks now, since the day after Christmas 2021. He's accused of killing 14-year-old Xavier Gonzalez, 16-year-old Ivan Noila, and 17-year-old Rafael Garcia, and injuring a 15-year-old taco shop employee. 1 month after the teen was captured on security video shooting into a Texaco station convenience store in downtown Garland, Texas, authorities spoke to the press on January 27, 2022. Police spokesperson Lieutenant Pedro Barano said in an email to the Dallas Morning News that they continued to investigate the leads and tips they're receiving, saying, quote, "We still do not know where he is. We do not know if he is in this country or another. We are still hoping someone will provide us with information that leads us to his whereabouts." Investigators have been searching vague tips that, quote, "name cities in Mexico. They name cities in Texas. Like we're hearing this and hearing that." Right now, though, we still don't know where Abel Acosta is. We don't have any solid location, whether he's still in country or out of the country. We're working with U.S. Marshals Service because they're the experts when it comes to tracking down a fugitive. Authorities do believe, however, that Acosta is armed and dangerous and remains a threat to the public. Garland police also feel that someone is aiding the 14-year-old in evading capture. The aunt and uncle of Xavier Gonzalez spoke to the local CBS station a month after he was killed. Xavier was 14 and the youngest of the victims, and he, along with the injured cook, were determined to have been innocent bystanders. Investigators have concluded that one of the other 2 victims was the shooter's intended target. His uncle said, quote, "It happened like a month ago, but just because it's not trending doesn't mean it's not there." While Xavier's aunt added, quote, "We try to take it as the days go by, but it's still very hard. How can a 14-year-old just disappear? It's really hard for us to have inner peace when we know we have to put him down and no one's paid for what they did. Of course, we want the father to pay for what he did as well, but we want the actual killer to pay for what he did. Have some compassion, and we just want justice and want the right thing for everybody's families." On February 9th, 2022, reports indicated that the Crime Stoppers' reward had been increased to $10,000 for information leading to Acosta's arrest, bringing the total to $15,000 as local radio station owner Jerry Reynolds is offering his own reward of $5,000. If you'll recall, the teen's 33-year-old father, Richard Acosta Jr., turned himself in the day after the murders after seeing security camera footage of himself on the news, saying he thought he was wanted as a witness to the shooting that occurred when he was waiting in his truck in the parking lot for his son to come out of the store. He claims that he heard gunshots but didn't see where they came from, didn't know his son had a gun, and didn't know his son had been the one to fire the shots he'd heard. The elder Acosta is still being held in the Dallas County Jail, charged with capital murder, his bond set at $3 million. If you saw what happened or know where Acosta is, call homicide investigator Lucas Shoup at 972-485-4585. 972-272-4869, or you can submit anonymous tips to Garland Crime Stoppers at 972-272-8477. That's 972-272-TIPS. Or visit garlandcrimestoppers.org if you know anything about Abel Acosta's whereabouts. The 16-year-olds who are alleged to have stalked and murdered their Spanish teacher in Fairfield, Iowa, recently requested that their next hearing be postponed. If you'll recall, 66-year-old high school teacher Nohema Graber was found murdered in Chautauqua City Park on November 3, 2021, one day after she went for her usual walk and never returned. After a tipster provided police with social media messages, investigators were pointed to a pair of Mrs. Graber's students, 16-year-olds Willard Noble Chaiden Miller and Jeremy Everett Goodale, who were arrested the day after she was found. They were charged as adults with murder in the first degree and conspiracy to commit a forcible felony, each held on $1 million cash-only bond. They've both pleaded not guilty and remain in juvenile detention and continue to petition the court to be tried as juveniles. The hearing to address that motion was originally scheduled for January 27, 2022 and was postponed to February 10th. It's now been rescheduled for March 24, 2022, at which point the judge will determine where Miller and Goodale's cases will be heard. They're requesting to be tried together. I'll let you know what happens and will continue to follow this case. This show is sponsored by Best Fiends. This time of year tends to bring to mind love, but let's remember that not all love has to be the romantic kind. Things like your brain need love too, and my favorite way to give my mind some much-deserved rest is by playing Best Fiends, the best casual mobile match 3 puzzle game out there. I'm currently on level 822 and have been having extra fun with the bonus event Season of Caesar, where players are rewarded just for completing tasks we complete anyway. Talk about extra! There are thousands of levels to get lost in, whether it's a few minutes a day or for as long as you can. Challenging new puzzles and collectible new characters are added all the time, and it's always free to download. Ready to give your brain some TLC? Download Best Fiends free today on the App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R. Best Fiends. We'll close this week with another recent case we're now following. 15-year-old Diamond Alvarez of Houston, Texas was a girl, quote, happy and full of life, according to her mother, who has spoken to reporters numerous times in the 1 month since her daughter was murdered. Diamond dreamed of being a cosmetologist one day and loved purple. She was a straight-A student and on the honor roll, played volleyball and basketball at school, and according to her uncle, was known for, quote, her big lashes. She was known for having lashes. Around 8 p.m. on January 11, 2022, the Madison High School sophomore asked her mother if she could take their family dog Peanut for a walk. Her mother told Fox 26 Houston, quote, she just told me, can I walk the dog? That's what she told me, and I said, okay, don't take long, 20 minutes. I didn't know she was going to meet him there. The him Diamond's mother refers to is 17-year-old Frank DeLeon Jr. The teens were childhood friends who grew up in the same neighborhood. Diamond's mother said that the pair had been dating on and off for about the past 7 months and that, quote, my daughter was always crying about him. Diamond's mother admits that she never cared for him, calling the feeling instinctual. She told reporters that, quote, if I had seen a red flag, you think I wouldn't have done something about it? Yes. But my daughter never came home with bruises or any other red flags. What she didn't appear to know was that DeLeon had held a gun to her daughter's head and punched her in the face at some point during their relationship. Prosecutors now allege that Diamond saw DeLeon at a birthday party with another girl, who would later say that DeLeon had been violent with her at that party, also pointing a gun at her. He told Diamond that he'd been in a relationship with that girl for several years, and that he didn't want anyone to know that he'd been recently dating Diamond. De Leon texted Diamond several times on January 9th, 2022 saying, quote, "Don't ruin this for me." Text records indicate that they planned to meet at the grassy park in their neighborhood, halfway between their homes 2 days later, on the night of January 11th so they could talk about the so-called love triangle. The girls had actually texted that day and talked about how they'd been seeing the same guy. Just before De Leon met Diamond at the grassy area, his other girlfriend sent him screenshots of her conversations with Diamond and broke up with him, telling him to leave her alone and blocking his phone number. Diamond walked Peanut every day, so the request to do so didn't seem strange. Her mother said when interviewed that the family knew Diamond and her boyfriend De Leon had been fighting over text, but she didn't think the two things had anything to do with each other. While they were gone, Diamond texted her sister, quote, "We came to the field. I told him I would only talk to him in the field." Soon after, their uncle and several neighbors heard more than 20 gunshots, which prompted Diamond's mother to call her phone, but the teen never answered. They then heard their dog Peanut scratching on the door alone, dragging his leash with blood on his collar. Her mother said that when their dog, quote, "came by himself, I already knew something was wrong. I already knew my baby wasn't okay." The family went looking and found the bullet-riddled body of Diamond Alvarez a few blocks down the street, lying in the grass near the curb at Park Manor Street near Glen Ridge Lane. Her younger brother had been the one to locate her just before 9:30 p.m. She had been shot 22 times, mainly in the back, with multiple shots hitting her as she lay on the ground. Diamond was still breathing, according to her mother, who said, quote, "My son found her. I tried CPR. I couldn't bring her back. I tried so hard to keep her alive. I couldn't. I tried and I tried and I tried. When there was nothing else I could do, I started telling her how much I love her and that I'm always here." Witnesses not only heard nearly 24 gunshots, but some told police that they saw a dark-colored car with 2 occupants fleeing the scene. Police initially categorized Diamond's murder as a drive-by homicide and said that they didn't have enough evidence at that moment to link Diamond's boyfriend De Leon to the shooting. 10 9mm shell casings were found at the scene, but Diamond's iPhone was not recovered. Over the next several days, Diamond's family received numerous death threats, and almost 1 week later, 17-year-old Frank De Leon Jr. was arrested around 6 p.m. on January 17, 2022. He was literally preparing to take off as police, quote, "found a suitcase on his bed in the process of being packed with numerous articles of clothing and toiletries of a sufficient amount. It was clear it was not simply an overnight bag, so there are concerns with him appearing in court for this charge." When she learned that a suspect had been arrested in her daughter's murder, Diamond's mother told reporters, quote, "I didn't even ask who it was. I already knew it was him. He was just angry at my daughter. It wasn't love. It wasn't a breakup. He was angry at my daughter." De Leon was charged with murder and initially held on no bond. He said in court that Diamond was actually stalking him and that they were only, quote, "kind of seeing each other." Prosecutors said that he used to have a 9mm but claimed to have gotten rid of it a few weeks before. A day and a half after his arrest, he made his initial appearance, at which time his bail was set at $250,000. Diamond's mother responded, quote, "He doesn't deserve a bond. I don't think so. I don't think that's right. I don't care if he had no priors. I don't care. The way he executed my daughter and he's walking the streets like nothing and mocking people, what kind of animal is that?" And she was right to be outraged because De Leon bonded out of Harris County Jail that same day. Diamond's mother responded in disbelief, saying, quote, "I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. Why are you just letting loose a monster like that? Somebody that just executed somebody. A little kid. My baby." Judge Hazel B. Jones granted the $250,000 bond amount requested by the prosecution, and although we often see in the news bail amounts in the millions, De Leon's bail is actually high for the offense with which he's been charged in Harris County, Texas. Similar crimes there generally receive a bond of around $50,000. But the issue here is that bondsmen have their own percentages required to secure the bail, and it's believed that De Leon likely paid somewhere between 2 and 10%, which can only be changed with legislation. When pressed by the family regarding De Leon's release, the Harris County District Attorney's Office responded with a statement saying, quote, "We are fully focused on getting justice. We fully support getting violent criminals off our streets, and we will do everything in our power to convict the defendant of this vicious murder and deliver justice to her family, her friends, and the entire community." De Leon is on house arrest with GPS ankle monitoring and a curfew, awaiting trial. His next court date is March 9th, 2022. He must refrain from using drugs, drinking alcohol, or possessing guns, ammunition, or any other weapons. He can't go to school or have any contact with Diamond's family, any of the witnesses, or his ex-girlfriend. Diamond's mother said, quote, "I loved everything about my daughter. I don't regret anything. I'm at peace because I gave her all the kisses and all the hugs. I have to be strong now. I can't break. This is not over." She was working really hard in school to graduate, and she was getting there, and she didn't get to graduate. She didn't get her diploma. She didn't get to be a mother, wedding, kids, nothing. "I'm not getting my daughter back, but at least, he'll pay,"